to the 31st episode of the Honeybee Knits podcast. My name is Melissa and I am coming to you from southwestern Ohio, where I live with my husband, our dog, and 2 cats. You can find me on Instagram as honey_bee_knits, on Ravelry as Melissa1308, in our Ravelry podcast group, the Honeybee Knits podcast group, and also on Etsy as honeybeenknitsco.etsy.com. Today is Tuesday, June 26th. Today is Tuesday, June 26th. It is a very rainy and gloomy day outside, which I don't mind at all. That's actually my favorite type of weather, which I know is weird, but it's kind of perfect knitting weather, right? So I am coming to you about a week after I podcasted last time, which is so exciting that I was able to get my act together and record a podcast, fingers crossed because I'm obviously not done yet, within a week, because I used to be on a weekly podcasting schedule and I just got really busy and things were kind of weird for a while. So it's something that I really enjoy doing and I really want to take time to do it. So I am scheduling time for myself to podcast. I apologize once again for the ring light glare in my glasses. Last week it was after dark when I was podcasting and I did end up pulling out my ring lights, and I know that there's a glare. I did buy a diffuser and it's helping a little bit, but it's still not where it needs to be. I'm going to do some research and see what I can do about lighting in here. I might have to ditch the ring light and get some professional lighting, umbrella lights, because it annoys me and I know it probably annoys you guys as well. So I will do some research into that in the coming weeks, but for now we're going to deal with what we have, and for you to be able to see the colors correctly as possible, then the ring light is the best option. So I don't have a whole lot of administrative things today. No giveaways. All of the giveaway winners have contacted me. So thank you guys for being on top of it. Now that I say that, there might be one giveaway winner that I owe a package to mail to. So if you have not watched my most recent episode other than today's, go back and take a look where I announced all the giveaway winners and caught us up on all of our knit-alongs. We have a few knit-alongs going on in our Ravelry group right now. We have the socks knit-along, which is year-round sock cowl. I love knitting socks. A lot of people love knitting socks. There's a lot of sock knit-alongs. So I thought it would be fun to have a sock knit-along in my group. So you can feel free to enter your sock FOs in there. It will close at midnight the last day of the month, and I will pull winners on the first podcast with the first podcast of every month. So I will be pulling June's winners on the first podcast in July. The next knit along that we have going on is our Whip It Thursday cowl, where you choose pick up a languishing whip, and it's called Whip It Thursday because I choose to knit my whips on Thursdays, but you can choose any day of the week to knit yours as long as you're knitting it and you're finishing it, and then enter the finished object in the cowl. Doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter how long it's been on the needles, as long as it's been on longer than 3 months. And just get those objects finished and get them in there. I pull winners for that quarterly, so that quarter 2 is about to end on June 30th. So our third knit along is coming up. It's not open yet, but it will be starting July 1st, where it is a Honeybee Knits along. So a Honeybee Knits knit along. So basically you just make any object, doesn't matter what it is, how big, how small, I don't care, with my yarn, and then enter it into the FO thread. You can use other makers as well if you're making a project that is 2, 3, 4 skeins, whatever you need. I just request that you tag the other makers. You don't have to tag them, but at least mention them in your FO post, so that we can give some other dyers some love as well. And I would love to see how my yarn knits up with other dyers. I've seen quite a few projects and I think it's great how how it works out that way, and I like seeing it. So I thought it would be fun to do a Honeybee Knits knit along. It starts July 1st and it will go for 3 months. I might end up extending it depending on how much participation we have. We might make it a quarterly knit along, but for now we'll focus on the first 3 months, and I can't wait to see what some of you guys come up with. I've had quite a few people tag me this past week with their projects using my yarn, and I am so excited. Like, it excites me so much to see what you guys create. I feel kind of like an artist when I'm dyeing yarn, and I put a lot of my creative heart and soul into dyeing it. So I am always really excited to see what you guys decide to make it into and how it actually knits up. So thank you guys for tagging me, and if you don't already, please continue to tag me on Instagram with all your pictures. I think that's it for administrative stuff. I know if you watched last week, I was kind of all over the place. When I was editing, I realized that I would start talking about one thing and get into a different subject, or I would forget to talk about something. So I interjected quite a bit during the editing podcast. If that bothered you, I do apologize, but I got a lovely comments on that video, so thank you guys so much. If you have any questions or just want to comment about anything that you see in the podcast, please make sure to comment below. I will say that I have been really good about responding to comments, or at least liking them once I see them. And I don't typically do show notes. It's a goal to start in the future when I don't know. But if you have a question over anything that I show in today's podcast, please comment below, and I will be sure to provide links or names as appropriate so that you guys can take a look at some of the stuff for yourself. And that's especially going to be relevant today because I have received so many packages this week. It's kind of ridiculous. I would say that half the podcast is going to be knitting and the other half is going to be acquisitions. So hopefully you guys like acquisitions, and if not, you guys can always skip that part of the podcast. But yeah, I'm trying to think. I think that's it. I think that's it as administrative stuff. I have shop news as always, and I will talk about that at the end of the podcast. But I think we can go ahead and jump right into the knitting. And it's been a week, and I have 2 finished objects. So apparently I need to hold myself accountable for podcasting every week, because when I podcast, I get more knitting done. Because I think in my last couple episodes, I've only had like 1 finished object, and it was 4 to 6 weeks in between podcasts. So apparently if I podcast weekly, I knit more. So the first finished object I have to show you guys are my Desert Vista Dye Works socks for June. So I finished these, I think last Thursday, I believe. Maybe Wednesday. It was right after I uploaded the podcast, so either Wednesday or Thursday. And it is washing out a little bit when I hold them up close, but these are the socks that I knit out of the special yarn from Desert Vista Dye Works. This is the, what yarn is this? You know what? I finished these on Friday because I finished these right before I cast it on a hat. So, which, spoiler alert, that's my next finished object. But, what did I do? What yarn is this? I don't remember the name of this yarn, but I know that this is the yarn that I got for knitting 12 pairs of Desert Vista Dye Works socks last year. So I really like how they turned out. I like the rainbowy heels, cuffs, and toes, and I like the nice gray striping tonals throughout. It's definitely not something I would have picked myself to purchase, but I'm glad I got it, and it makes a nice pair of socks. So I think I mentioned in my last podcast that I have a goal to fill up one of my drawers with hand knit socks. And I think I counted last week. I think I have 26 pairs. So I think this makes 27. So I'm getting up there. And I'm about halfway. So it looks like I'm going to have about 50 pairs of hand knit socks before I fill up my drawer, which is ridiculous. I don't think anybody in their right mind needs that many, but I'll have socks for a lifetime, so who cares? I really enjoy knitting socks, and I really enjoy knitting socks for myself because I have small feet and they're really fast, so it is what it is. So these are done, and I'm really happy with them. And my next FO is actually a gift for my niece. So I don't know if I mentioned it last week or not, but I kind of got into a habit over the winter of doing cast on Fridays, where at least every other Friday, if not every Friday, I would cast on a new project. And I kind of got away from that and Whip It Thursday for a little bit, but I'm trying to go back to my roots. So I decided to do cast on Friday this week, and I actually cast this hat on, and it took me about 4 hours to knit, so it's actually an FO. And here it is. So it is blowing out a little bit. It's a little less neon-y than what it's showing. I know you guys hate this, but that's better. And I can't keep it off because there'll be crazy shadows, but this is more true to color. And this is actually a hat that I knit for my niece. Her birthday is this weekend. She's been asking me for a hat for over a year now, and she actually took a trip with me when we went to Simply Sock Yarn Company in Fort Wayne, Indiana, a couple weeks ago, and she picked out the yarn. It's hedgehog fibers and the merino DK and the Harajuku colorway, and then we came home and she picked this pom-pom to go on top. Her birthday was actually yesterday, but her birthday party is this coming weekend, so I'm gonna give it to her as one of her gifts. It did give me something to give her to open up, because she actually prefers that we take her shopping for her birthday and Christmas every year, so we just give her like $100 and we take her shopping, and she gets to have a girls' day, and which is nice because she has 3 brothers, so it's nice for her to get out. And just sometimes we take my husband and my oldest nephew, but sometimes it's just us girls and we get our nails done and have lunch and go shopping, so it's really fantastic. But anyway, I think she'll really like it, and I'm really jealous because this is definitely the type of hat that I want. And I wouldn't mind reordering this yarn and this pom-pom so that I could make myself this hat, because I honestly thought about stealing this. Yeah, so we'll see. Knowing me, I never will. But it's super cute. If I ever have the opportunity and I happen to run across this yarn again, I would definitely purchase it. I have another skein of yarn that she picked out for a hat. She kept picking out hat yarns, and apparently she wants like 10 hats. And she picked out another skein, and her friend was here a couple weeks ago when we went to Kings Island, and she really liked that color as well. So I am going to and it's not hedgehog, I think it's Madeline Tosh DK. And I'm looking over there because it's sitting over there on my shelf, but I'm gonna knit that up. And they each picked out a pom-pom for that hat that they liked. So I'm gonna reorder that same yarn and make them both a hat out of it, because they both really like the color, and they each picked out a pom-pom. So I don't know if the one that I knit, because for this cast on Friday, that's what I'm going to cast on, and I don't know if I'm going to knit this one for my niece or for her friend, because her friend is going to be there at the birthday party. So I thought about going ahead and making it for her friend and giving it to her, because I don't know the next time I'm going to see her. I'm sure I'll see her before summers or before winter, because she has Kings Island passes and goes with us as well. But I would like to get that done for her so she has one as well. And then Kira, I'll order the yarn and make her another one, I think. But anyway, so it took me about 4 hours to make. A lot of people ask me what this pattern is called. I believe it's the braided cable pattern. And you know what? I actually did bring the bag up that I was knitting it out of, because I forgot it the last couple times and I wasn't able to tell you the pattern name. So here is the yarn tag. It's Hedgehog Fibers Merino DK, and it's actually 115 grams per 200 meters, which I think is about, I don't want to guess, but I want to say it's like 200 meters is probably like 180 yards. per 100 grams. If it's 200 meters per 115 grams. That's probably off base, but that's my best estimate right now. And I use the braided cable beanie pattern, and this is by Prim Knits, and I actually did have to buy this pattern off of Etsy and print it off. It wasn't on Ravelry. I think you can get to it from Ravelry, but I don't think you can purchase it from Ravelry. It takes you to an external website. So again, braided cable beanie by Prim Knits, and it calls for 4 cable repeats, but I only do 3 because it calls for a worsted weight yarn held double, and I'm using DK held double. So this is more like a chunky yarn instead of a DK or a worsted. And this is how much of the skein I had left after making the hat. So I have quite a few of these little balls from all the hats that I made, so I'm planning on making a scrappy or marled hat, or maybe a faded version of this with all my little scraps for myself, probably, because these are all going as Christmas gifts or birthday gifts, so it would be nice to take that and make myself a scrappy little hat with all the leftovers from all the hats that I've made, especially since a lot of the hats that I've made so far have actually been my yarn, Honeybee Knits yarn. So yeah, I really like this. I've gone on and about that enough. So those are the only 2 FOs that I have, but I did mention last week when I was showing you all the stuff that I had blocked and woven the ends on that are officially finished objects now. And by the way, I blocked and woven the ends on that. Well, I didn't block the hat because the hat, by blocking it, it stretches it out too much. But I did weave in all the ends. And I did block the socks. So, but anyway, I had 1 shawl left. The weather turned bad before the last podcast, and I wasn't able to get this one blocked. And I had blocked this one previously, but I didn't like how I blocked it. So I actually soaked it and reblocked it and wove in all the ends. And if this looks familiar, this is my Color Craving by Stephen West. And I don't remember the name of the colors. I know the blue is Button Jar Blue, but this is Madeline Tosh Light yarn. And this blocked out really, really large. And this is definitely one of those projects where I enjoy knitting it more than I like the finished object, because I just feel like this finished object is not very practical. I mean, it's kind of cute and I like the colors, but it's just not me. It's not something that I would wear. It's very funky and fabulous and very out there, and I'm kind of not as out there. But anyway, either I will get used to wearing this and I will wear it this winter time, or I will gift it to somebody I think that it matches the personality of. But the colors are totally me. I really love the colors that I picked and how they knit up and worked out. So I'm really happy with it. And I casted this on like 2 years ago. So to have it blocked and ends woven in is finally, it's like 2.5 years now. But to have it blocked and the ends woven in is really a big accomplishment for me, because I really don't consider it to be a final finished object until that happens. So with everything that I've blocked and I've woven in the ends on the past couple weeks, I do want to get some nice pictures of everything so that I can get them up on my Ravelry page and update it, because I used to be really good at doing that, and I've kind of fell off of that over the past couple of months. So speeding right through, we're 20 minutes in. Okay, so I have 2 whips to show today, and then the rest is acquisitions, which I'm thinking the acquisitions are going to take the bulk of the time. But let me show you what I've been working on. I didn't get as much work on this done as I wanted to before I podcasted, because I was really working on my Desert Vista dye work socks and my hat, but I finally casted the body off on my Comfort Fade cardi yesterday. So I had started the ribbing 2 nights ago. Last night I finished the ribbing and cast it off. So it is, I thought the collar was next, but I was reading the pattern last night and it turns out the sleeves are next. So tonight I'm going to be casting on the sleeves. so I will put it on. It fits really, really nicely. It is going to be a little oversized once I block it and once I get the collar on there. I can tell because I think once this is blocked and the collar's on, this is going to lay to right about here, and then the collar's another like 3 inches, I think. So I know it's going to be a little bit oversized, and also the arms are rather large, but that's okay. It'll be nice and comfy because it's called a comfort fit cardi, right? So I'm going to stand up and show you. Before I stand up and show you guys, I do want to say that I don't do this very often. You guys don't really get to see the bottom half of me too much because I am a bit self-conscious. But I'm starting to be more body positive, and I really like how this is going to look, and I really want to show honestly, because I've had some other knitters reach out to me and let me know that you know, it encourages them that being a bigger girl, I do still knit sweaters and things for myself, because a lot of people are intimidated to do it because of their size, and I can completely relate to that. It took me so long to even look at a sweater pattern because I thought there's no way that that beautiful skinny designer made this for my size. So there's not even any point in looking, and because I want it so bad as it is, and when I look and I see that they don't make it in my size, I'm just going to be disappointed. Let me tell you guys, that is so not true. Most pattern designers adapt their patterns for larger women. And not only that, but the math really isn't too difficult if you actually sit down and focus on it to be able to convert a pattern. So I don't have any experience with that, so I'm not the right person to ask to help you do that. But I will say there's a lot of resources on YouTube and Google there's a lot of resources on Google that will help you to do that. And I know there's a few books. I'm not thinking of any off the top of my head. But anyway, all that to say, if you are a larger size, don't be intimidated. Don't be scared. Just do it. You will love it, and it'll be the best fitting thing you've ever wore. And it's perfect. Like, my 2 sweaters I made for myself fit me perfectly, and I love them. I absolutely love them. They are my favorite things. In fact, I'm going to start looking into t-shirts and tank tops that I can knit for myself, because the only downfall of knitting sweaters is that you can't really wear them in the summertime. At least not in Ohio. So with all that being said, I am going to stand up and show you how this fits around my waist and my bottom. So here it goes. So I don't have a whole lot of room to back up to show you, but as you can see, it actually, I did knit it a extra inch in the body before I casted it off. I think the pattern says to knit it 12 inches from the sleeve split right here, and I think I knit it about 13 or 13 and a half, and then I did 3 inches of ribbing at the bottom. So I'm really, really happy with how the fade turned out. I know I had mentioned I was thinking about changing the bottom color and dyeing it a bit darker, but a lot of you said, no, don't do it, it looks great the way it is, and so I took your advice and I didn't do it. I'm so happy that I didn't, because I think it looks great. So yeah, so I am so thrilled with this, and I'm hoping that by the next time I podcast, I will have it finished to show you. I do have a few things to talk about with this. The first thing is that, in case you couldn't tell, the wrong side is actually the outside. This is actually the right side of the pattern. So in other words, you're doing a reverse stockinette, kind of. So basically, most sweaters, the outside looks like this, the knit stitch. This sweater, the outside is going to be the purl side. So when you do the sleeves, if you knit them right side, then technically you would be purling around for the sleeves. Now what you can do is you can actually flip the sweater inside out and pick up the, once you pick up the stitches, but you can knit the sleeves this way. so that when you're going around you get to knit instead of purl, and then you just flip them inside out when you're done. The only thing is that when you're changing colors, you want to make sure that you're carrying up your colors on the outside of the work instead of the inside. Typically, if you were knitting a sweater, and this is how it was going to look when you wore it, you would carry it upside on the inside because you don't want to see the seams. In this case, you're going to flip your sleeve inside out, so if you don't carry it on the outside, when you flip it inside out, you're going to see the seam. So I do plan to knit it inside out so that I can knit, because I knit much faster than I purl. And I wanted to tell you that okay, so this is the yarn that I have left. Oh, shoot. So this is the yarn that I have left to knit my sleeve and my collar out of, along with what I have left from the body of my sweater. What I am going to do is I am actually going to split this in half so that when I'm going to split each of these in half, so that when I'm knitting my sleeves, I can put half on the right and half on the left. Now, these were dyed in the same batch at the same time, so there shouldn't be too much variation with the sleeves, but I just want to avoid any frustration altogether and be proactive just in case there is, and knit the same amount of each skein on each sleeve. And actually, now that I'm saying that, this color I don't think is in the sleeves at all, because I use that for the yoke, and I know that I transferred colors before I got to the sleeves. So when I pick up the sleeves, I won't be picking this up, so this will be on the collar. But this one will be. So this skein will be in there. So what I will do is I will split this one in half. And knit all of that half into the right sleeve, and I will set the other half aside to knit into the left sleeve for when I start the left sleeve, because I don't knit 2 at a time sleeves. And then I will skein this up and knit the rest of that color with this skein instead of using all of this. And that way, if there are any tonal differences, I don't have one sleeve darker or lighter than the other. I'm pretty confident that the way I dyed these, since they were in the same pot at the same time, that they will match 100%. I'm like 90% positive. And the reason I say 90 is because sometimes dye does weird things. As much as you try to control the process, there are too many factors that could cause different results, even if it's in the same pot. So to be on the safe side and avoid any frogging later on, because one sleeve's darker than the other, I'm just going to be proactive, split this in half, use the rest of it, and then move on to this one. Hopefully that makes sense. If you guys have any questions on that, you can let me know. I know a lot of you are experienced knitters and already know this information, but some of you aren't. Some of you are newbies, and this is stuff that that I didn't know when I was starting out, that I wish somebody would have told me. And in fact, maybe they did tell me, but the only reason they told me was on a podcast. So I'm just going to say it here, just in case none of y'all knowed. Just in case none of you guys knew. So that's it for my Comfort Fade Cardi. Moving on to my next whip, and this is kind of boring because I really didn't work on it too much. I was dyeing yarn last week on Thursday, which is my Whip It Thursday day, so I didn't get a whole lot done on this. And actually, maybe I finished my socks on Thursday, because I think I finished my socks right before I started working on this. But I did get a few rows done, so I got about a section and a half done on it, which is pretty disappointing, and you can't really tell any difference. But I am still loving this knit, and I thought about more than once picking this up to work on it outside of a Thursday. But I have some serious knitting goals when it comes to sweaters right now, which I talked about in a few of my podcasts, so I'm not going to repeat it again. But I'm really trying to stay focused on finishing what I start, and while this is something I started, it's something I started 2.5 years ago, and it's been abandoned for 2.5 years. It can wait another couple weeks to be finished. So I've kind of gotten into a routine of working on one main project, and then so basically 3 projects at a time. So I've been working on one main project, which in this case would be my Comfort Fade Cardi, one sock project, which is typically my Desert Vista Dye Work socks, and one whip project, which in this case is my Outlander shawl. And I forgot to mention, if you want any of the information on the yarn I used or the pattern I used for that shawl, you can comment below or go watch my last episode because I mentioned it all in there. But it is the Outlander shawl, and it's Lorna's Laces yarn. So just a brief overview of that. But anyway, and I really like the flow that I have because about 4 or 5 days a week I'm working on my main project, Comfort Fade Cardi, and the rest of the week I'm working on something else. So for example, when I was podcasting and editing and uploading, I needed something that I didn't have to pay attention to. So the socks were good because I didn't have to look at them and I could just knit or in the round. So I was able to finish my Desert Vista Dye Work socks. For Friday, Cast on Friday, eventually I will get to a point, actually in 2 weeks, because I created a new planner and I have it planned out what my projects will be on Cast on Friday through July. So this week I'm casting on another hat and I cast it on a hat last Friday because I really needed one of those quick gratifying projects, and this hat takes me 4 hours to knit. So I literally casted it on at like 10 or 11 o'clock at night, and I finished it at like 2 o'clock in the morning on Friday, which is fine. I know that sounds ridiculous for some people. They can't stay up that late, but for me, I have a little bit of insomnia, and I typically stay up pretty late in the evenings, so that it was nothing for me to stay up to finish that hat on Friday night. So this coming weekend I will be doing the same thing with the hat. Hopefully I finish it the same day I cast it on. And the Friday after that I have a scarf casted on. A scarf planned to cast on. I would like to get it done by September, and it's going to be a pretty long scarf, so I want to go ahead and start it. Now that being said, it's a garter stitch scarf. Very plain, very basic, probably won't take me any time at all, but I do want to get it started just in case I get distracted, which I tend to do when I knit. I have started, and I know this is a little bit of chit chat, but I have started organizing. I purchased an organizer from like a daily organizer from Joann's. And I spent like, I think the organizer itself was originally $30, but I got it for 50% off. So it was about $15, which isn't bad considering what it is. I purchased a few extra goodies like sticky notes and to-do list inserts. So I ended up spending, and I bought like a stamp and some ink stamp because, you know, you have to make it pretty. I think I ended up spending about $50, whereas I originally had in my cart about $300 worth of planning stuff, and I was like, this is ridiculous. I don't need this much. So I narrowed it down to about $50 worth of stuff, and it's done wonders. Like, I just started this weekend, and it has helped me so much to stay on task. And a lot of people had, because I do a lot of to-do lists and sometimes I share those on Instagram, and a lot of people had reached out asking me if I do bullet journaling, and I don't really have an interest in getting into it because it does take a lot of time to design your layouts and things like that. It's basically like a blank canvas. So I really wanted something that already had kind of a setup that would be productive for my lifestyle, and I found one, and it basically each day is a column, but the column is split up into 3 different sections, which is absolutely perfect for me. So one section, I have podcasting goals, I have shop update goals, I have basically Ravelry knit along goals. Like, everything that I need planned out for the month is in the top box. The second box, I have personal things in there. So if I have a doctor's appointment, or I need to call to get pricing on something for the house, or my knitting goals for the week. This is where I put, you know, Whip It Thursday, or in what project I'm working, what project I want to cast on Friday. And I also put in here like what day I want to cast on my Desert Vista dye work socks, one day I want to, what day the thread's close, so I can make sure to input them in there. So any of my knit along stuff is going to be in the second box across. And then my last box I use for work related things. So if I have an important meeting coming up at work that is outside of my normal working hours, I put it there so that I don't forget about it. So for example, I normally do not schedule any meetings before 9 a.m. because that's typically when people start to get in to the office and settle down. And also we work with business partners that are in Chicago, so they're an hour behind us. So I normally set it, typically 10 a.m. is ideal, but nothing before 9 a.m. for sure. And this week I actually had an 8:30 a.m. meeting, so I wrote that in there so that I wouldn't forget, because I look at the next day, the day before. And if I have something specific due on a project, a deadline, like today I had some procedure drafts that needed to be submitted, so I had written that in there so that I was able to submit those on time, things like that I keep in there as well, in that box. And in addition to that, I have some inserts that is like a checklist for like a to-do list, and this is where I put my daily to-dos outside of those 3 items. So my chores, so like if I need to do laundry, if I need to go to the grocery store, if Izzy needs to go, if it's her day to go to the park or on a walk, or whatever needs to be done, I will put in that to-do list, and I can just check it off through the day as I go. So it's been very, very helpful in keeping me organized. And today I put podcasting in there, and guys, it's like not even 6 o'clock and I'm podcasting. Last week I didn't even get to podcast until 10 p.m. because it was so crazy. That being said, I was supposed to dye yarn today, and my shipment of dyes didn't come in time, so I was not able to dye. They won't be here until Thursday afternoon, which I'm a little upset about because I ordered them last Tuesday, so I don't understand why it's taking so long for them to come in. I am participating in the Tits Out Collective by Countess Ablaze. And if you want more background information on that, you can either watch my last video or go on Instagram. Most likely, if you're on social media at all, you've heard about it by now. So that is why I'm waiting on dyeing. I really want to get some samples dyed up before Sunday, which is the day that we are all releasing our colorways. So those are the plans for dyeing this week in the shop. So I will be having a shop update on Sunday. Depending on how the shop update goes and how many I decide to dye up on each of the bases for that colorway will depend on what I will be dyeing the rest of the week, and also what I will be putting in the shop next week. I mentioned in my last podcast that I do have some plans for some Disney Princesses sock kits, which will be coming soon. I am running not low, but I have less than I normally have of inventory as far as undyed yarn right now, and so I'm waiting to dye those up until I dye up my Tits Out Collective yarn, because that actually has a go live date of July 1st, so I need to make sure that I'm dyeing those up first, and then seeing what I have left and determining how much more I need to order. Lots of shop plans coming for the next week or two. I spent 2 days dyeing last week. I dyed on Monday and Thursday, and it was pretty productive. I was able to, so speaking of more shop news, I was able to dye up June's Yarn of the Month colorway, which went out in the mail yesterday. I never got the original charms I was talking about last week, but I did get the backup charms, and I was able to make the progress keepers and package the orders on Saturday, but it took me longer than I thought, so I did not get them in the mail on Saturday like I was hoping, but they did go out in the mail yesterday, so those should be on the way to you. I do have a spoiler to show you in a minute, so if you don't want to see that, I'll give you a warning before I show it. July Yarn of the Month Club signups are open in the shop And as well as advent calendars, which I talked about last time. We have 24 days of Christmas and 12 days of Christmas. So make sure you're going out to check out those if you are interested. Those will stay up until the end of August, at which time I will close them and I will start dyeing everything up so that I can have packages mailed out to you on the 1st of November. I have had some questions about the shipping, and I mentioned it in my last episode, but I just want to go through it again because I understand how it can be very frustrating for an international buyer to see something as being affordable and then adding it to your cart and seeing crazy shipping prices. So I do use USPS. As of right now, they are the most affordable option for me as an Etsy seller as a small business and an Etsy seller. So I do only use USPS, and that's all that I currently offer. Typically on my listings, you'll notice that I do flat rate shipping for international orders, meaning I charge a flat rate of $10 no matter where it's going to within the world. Now, domestic orders, I typically charge $3 flat rate. Because it costs me about $2.98 to send out a package to anywhere in the U.S. Some places like Hawaii and Alaska cost a few cents more. Some places like Indiana and Kentucky cost a few cents less, but on average it's about $3. So I charge flat rate $3 for domestic and $10 flat rate for international. When I send an international package, it doesn't matter if it's going to Canada or Australia. It typically costs me about $13. So pretty much every time I send out an international package, since I only charge $10 flat rate shipping for that, I'm typically taking a profit hit of $3 per package. So to me, that's the cost of doing business. I want people to be able to enjoy my products no matter where they live in the world. So that's why I do that. For the advent calendars, it's different. The advent calendars are going to be shipping in a larger box, and it's going to cost me more per package to ship. So I am not able to calculate what the average is going to be, so I'm not able to charge a flat rate. So for that reason, it is calculated shipping, which for domestic orders, it's not too bad considering how large the package is that's going out. I think that shipping has been averaging about $8. For the international, I have calculated a few different countries, and it's coming up between $35 and $50 for shipping. And it breaks my heart because I know that I would not be willing to pay that much for shipping to get a product that is basically only double the price. So in other words, you're paying half the price of the product just in shipping costs. And in the case of the 12 days of Christmas, it's about a little over half. So there's no way for me to get around that. I do not know until I ship how much it's going to cost me to ship an international order, or a domestic order for that matter. I can estimate it all day long, but at the end of the day, these are shipping out in November, and the shipping prices are going to change before then. And in addition to that, I'm still not 100% positive how much the boxes are going to weigh because I haven't nailed down all of the extra goodies I'm including in there, because I am trying to work with a few indie makers to include some extra goodies in there. So until I have all of that nailed down and until I have everything dyed up, I'm not going to know how much it weighs, and I'm not going to know how much it'll actually cost for me to ship. That being said, if I overcharged you on shipping on the day that I print the shipping label to send to you, I will refund whatever the overages are. I'm not going to keep that as profit. I wouldn't do that to you guys. The one thing I can say about that is if you do choose to purchase and you're international and your shipping is between $35 and $50, I cannot guarantee it won't cost me $35 or $50 to ship it. So while I can guarantee if it costs less than that, I will refund you, I cannot guarantee that it won't cost at least that and that you will actually get a refund. I hope that makes sense to you. And I really do apologize because I know it's frustrating and it sucks for me too, because I want I have friends that I talk to all over the world. I want them to be able to experience my yarn, not only experience it, but be able to use it and receive it. So if anybody out there has any other suggestions or ideas, feel free to let me know. At this point, I've looked at not only USPS, but I've looked at UPS and FedEx as well, and they're even more expensive than USPS. There's really not a whole lot more I can say on the topic. The one thing that I do want to check is how much the flat rate shipping boxes are. I have a feeling that pretty much everything is going to go flat rate because it's going to be the most cost-effective way to send it. Instead of first class, it'll go priority 2-day, but I will say I just shipped a medium flat rate box to Illinois, which is 2 states over, and it cost me $16. So flat rate may not be the way to go either. So all I can promise you is that if you are overcharged for shipping at the time that I ship, I will refund you. That's the only thing that I can promise. And I understand that it is frustrating to be international and want to purchase something and the shipping costs being so outrageous. And I do apologize for that. If there was anything in my power that I could do to change that, I would, but I can't. So as unfortunate as it is, it's just something that as a business I can't. I'm the type of person that will do something for somebody so that just because I want them to be happy. So I will send a package to a friend or whatever the case may be, because I know that's what will make them happy. But from a business perspective, I can't do that because it would take out too many profits. And I'm not worried about making money, but I am worried about growing my business. And in order to grow my business, I have to make a bigger profit margin. So, yeah. So I hope that you guys understand, and I love you guys. And if I could, I would send everybody a package without charging them shipping. Yeah. So I think that's enough about that. We can probably move on now. I do want to show you guys the June Yarn of the Month Club, which had some pretty significant meaning to me. It's one of my favorite books. So if you don't want to be spoiled and you haven't received yours, which most of you probably have not, please skip forward because I am going to be talking about the book and the colors. So I don't want you to hear it either. Skip forward probably about 3 or 4 minutes. So this month's Yarn of the Month Club pick was The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. And I do want to show you the yarn and a few goodies, but I also wanted everybody to know that you received a letter from me in this month's Yarn of the Month. This was a significant month because it marked the end of the first 6-month subscription. So if you purchased a 6-month subscription, thank you so much. And if you purchase 1-month subscription, thank you so much, or 3 or 2 or 4, whatever you purchase, thank you guys so much. I felt really accomplished to get through the first 6 months, and I had so much fun curating every month and picking out all the little goodies to go along with the yarn, and picking out all the colors to put in the yarn, and tying them back to the novel that was picked that month. As you guys know, reading is really important to me, and it's been a big part of my life. And so to be able to mix my love of knitting and yarn and literature at the same time is just like, it's given me so much creative spark, and it's made me really happy. So I want to thank you to everybody that has participated in that, and I hope that you loved all of the colorways that I sent. So This was one of the biggest kind of milestone books for me because it was the first really classic literature book that I read as a teen. Before this, I had never read any Jane Austen or Charles Dickens or Edgar Allan Poe. Those are my three tops, so that's why I mentioned those. But before this book, I never read any of those. So this was kind of the cornerstone of my really reading literature to understand symbolism and themes behind the story. And if you have ever read The Great Gatsby or read The Great Gatsby while taking a literature class or just talking about the book, you will realize that there is so much color theme in here. It's ridiculous. It's saturated with color. And what I mean by that is that there are colors mentioned throughout the entire book, and every color has a significance. It relates to something else within the book. So I really felt that this was definitely one I wanted to do for my Yarn of the Month Club because it mixes literature and color directly. And so what I did is I took all of the colors that I found symbolic within the book and I put it into a skein of yarn, and I was really nervous because I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out, and I'm still not sure how it's going to be received, but I really love the end result. So without further ado, I will show you what the colorway looks like this month. And here it is. And there we go. So I really liked how this turned out. It's definitely something that's out of my comfort zone, but it has but when I look at this, I see the story. I'm remembering things from the book. So I do want to tell you what each of the colors represents, which I also put in my letter. So green represents the American dream and Gatsby's love for Daisy. If you'll remember the green light at the end of her dock, if you remember that, of Daisy's dock in the novel. And then white represents Daisy's purity, vacuity, superficiality, hollowness, and ruthlessness, which for us, I think, typically white you associate with purity, but I really find it interesting that that color is also associated with things like superficiality and being superficial and kind of stuck up and snobby. Red represents blood, selfishness, and cruelty, which I don't think there's any surprises there. Yellow represents money, materialism, high social position, and if you'll recall, on the billboard, the big yellow glasses, and anytime they're talking about something of status, typically yellow is mentioned, or they're wearing yellow clothing, or something along those lines. Blue represents melancholy, loneliness, tranquility, and fantasy, which I think we see a lot of in The Great Gatsby, because the whole pretense is this guy that's pretending to be somebody that he's not, right? And that's got to be a lonely feeling to and I can definitely relate to that. It's a lonely feeling to constantly be putting somebody out there that doesn't really represent who you are on the inside. And then gray represents decadence, bleakness, corruption, disillusionment, and spiritual emptiness. So the time period of this is set in the 1920s, around the collapse of the 1920s, where there was, it was basically, there was a huge gap between rich and poor, right? And so you have rich people over here partying it up and spending thousands and thousands and thousands when you literally have people starving and dying on the street, which I think every generation can relate to social status and gaps within social status, but the gray just kind of defines the bleakness between it all. So anyway, so those are the colors that I represented in here. And I'm really happy with how it turned out. I think that this will make a gorgeous pair of socks, or if you can put it with a tonal, it'll make a gorgeous 2-color shawl. So I also sent, one of the biggest themes in The Great Gatsby is music and parties. And so I also, oh, by the way, the name of this one is called A Little Party Never Killed Nobody, which is a line from the book. And I also, guess I can turn this back on now, huh? And I also sent along this stitch marker, which is a music note. And this month's goodie was a stitch row counter. So it just pops on, and then every time you go a row, you press the button and it moves your counter. And then you can reset it. So that was this month's Yarn in the Month Club. I have not picked the theme for July yet. I plan to by the end of the week because I want to get the supplies ordered. Normally I order supplies the first second week of the month, but I found that I'm waiting later and later every month to get supplies, and I don't know if it's because of the people that I'm ordering from, or if it's because of the shipping times have increased. I'm not sure, but to avoid that, I'm gonna start ordering at the end of the beginning of the first week of the month, so that we can try to get those out as soon as possible. I want to mention, and I'm sure I'll mention this closer to the time, that if you are an avid subscriber to my Yarn of the Month, thank you so much. But for those of you that are familiar with how I have it set up, I recently took away the 3-month and 6-month option, so you can only purchase it 1 month at a time now. And I want to mention that for the August Yarn of the Month Club, I'm actually going to be out of town between the 20th and the 25th, which I actually, I close all of my Yarn of the Month subscriptions on the 15th of every month, and I ship by the 25th. So because I'm going to be out of town, August Yarn of the Month will close on the 10th of the month, and it'll be shipped out by the 20th, which is when I leave, so it'll be shipped out by the 19th, so, or the 18th, because the 19th is a Sunday. Either way, it's going to close 5 days sooner and ship out 5 days sooner, so just make sure that you're keeping that in mind if you are budgeting for August Yarn of the Month Club. So yeah, I think that's it for that. The other shop announcement that I have is that I have 2 collaborations coming to the shop. One of them is with the lovely ladies from Knit for Brains, Laura and Alicia. So we are collaborating to create a kit, and half the kits will be in their shop, half the kits will be in mine. We split the bases, so basically they're going to have Queen Bee, which is the 80-20 base, Worker Bee, which is the 75-25 base, and they are going to have all of the sparkle kits. So if you want a sparkle kit, you have to go to their shop. In my shop, I will have some Worker Bee, which is 75-25, Queen Bee, which is 80-20, and the cashmere, the MCN base. And MCN base is not something I've offered before, so it will be debuting in these kits. So if you want a merino cashmere nylon base, then those will be in my shop. So sparkle will be in theirs, nylon will be in mine, and then the Queen and Worker, we have split them into both. So I will show you photos and obviously show them on the podcast when the time comes to release them. I'm thinking they're probably going to be released probably next week. I don't see them going into the shop this week, but maybe next week. I will make sure to keep you guys updated and let you know. My next collaboration is with Stitching Plaza, and she just sent me a message earlier today letting me know that she is going to be sending me the bags this weekend, and all of those kits are going to be in my shop. So so if you would want one of those kits, which again, I'll show them all together once I get everything and get photographs, I will let you guys know. But again, they're either going to be in the shop next week or the week after. I might wait until the week after, that way I'm not putting 2 kits up at the same time. But if you want one of those will be in my shop. They will not be in Stitching Plaza's shop. So just FYI, and I can't wait to show you what I dyed up. That's what I spent last week doing, was Yarn of the Month, and then both collaborations. So, and I'm really happy with how they turned out, and I can't wait for you guys to see them. So I'm really excited. So make sure that you are keeping an eye out for those. And of course, they will be announced on Instagram when they go live. I think that's it for shop news for now. I have one other collaboration that I'm in talks with. I haven't really started anything on that. And then the sock kits, the Disney Princess sock kits, I plan to start soon, and the Tits Out Collective, which will be in the shop update on Sunday, July 1st, which is this coming Sunday. So other than that, I think that's it for shop news. Now it's time for acquisitions. So we're at like an hour and 1 minute before editing. So I'm guessing this is going to take about an hour to show. Hopefully not, because I know I get rushed when it comes to showing acquisitions, so it'll probably take less time than that. The first thing I wanted to show is actually a huge fail on my part. I received an email from Kramer Yarns, I think in the middle of May, letting me know that they had some new roving coming out and asking if I would be interested in sampling some of it either for felting or spinning. And I told them I would love to sample it for spinning, and they asked what color and how much I wanted, and I was like, or they had a variety box, and I was like, I want the variety box because I am indecisive and I can't decide. So they sent me this variety box of 20 colors, and it's a net weight of 8 ounces, 227 grams, and it's Mach Chunky Roving, and it's M-A-U-C-H by Kramer Yarns. And they requested that I spin this up and do a review on it by the end of July. And FYI, I'm not being paid by them to show this. They simply just sent me the product for free and asked that I try it out and do a review on it and post it. And I think I was supposed to do either a review by the end of June or July, and I'm pretty sure I picked July because I think they had, you could pick March, June, or July, and I think I picked July. Hopefully I did, because that's when I plan to have this up. So anyway, they asked what I wanted to spin, and I told them originally I wanted to spin some fingering weight yarn. And I think I'm more of a sport spinner, so I think I'm actually going to spin the sport weight so that I can knit up a pair of socks. And I don't know if you can see that, but it just says, for Melissa, with our thanks, Kramer Yarns. And then here's the beautiful colors. Look at all the color. And this is gonna look so cool when it's spun up together, because what happens is like you have like these different strands of color, but then you apply it together, so then you get like that barber pole effect. So I'm really excited to try it, and I don't think it says on here, it doesn't say in here what the fiber content is. I'm assuming it, oh yes it does, 100% US wool. But I find it really interesting because this is something I don't see a lot of, and I'm interested to see how they dye this up. But they have a lot of heathered tones in there. So that's pretty interesting because I am not aware of how to dye heathered tones. So I think it's kind of cool. Like this one, it's got like a purpley base, but it's got some like yellow, I don't know if you can see, but it's got like yellows and pinks and reds and greens and purples in there. So that's pretty cool. So I'm interested to spin this up, and I really need to get started on it if I want to finish it by July. So this is something I'm going to have to write into my planner and plan spinning time every week. I do have another spinning project I'm in the process of. You can see the bat right here, but I don't know. I think I showed it before, but I haven't gotten any progress on it. I go through a love-hate thing with spinning. It's not that I hate it. I love spinning. I don't hate it at all, but as much as I love doing it, I rather spend my free times knitting. So I typically just pick up my needles because it's really portable and it's easy to just stop and put it away for a second, like if I'm making dinner, or I can do other things while I'm knitting. When I'm spinning, I'm still kind of I am a newer spinner, so when I'm spinning, I still have to look at my hands and make sure that I'm drafting consistently, and so, but I do want to get back to spinning because I do have a lot of fiber I want to spin, and I do have some projects that I want to make with my spinning, because I want to make like sport weight hats and socks and cowls, so I need to get back to spinning. So hopefully you guys will see this at least started on the next podcast. I'm not promising another weekly podcast because then, quite frankly, I'm not quite sure how I was able to podcast weekly this week, but next time I podcast, I'm really hoping to have that at least started. The next acquisition, and this is in no order, this is actually one of the last acquisitions I received, but I purchased, this is a really unique fabric, and I hadn't seen it before, And so I decided to go ahead and purchase this bag from Nomadic Yarns, which I'm trying not to purchase any bags right now because I don't need any more. But first of all, I don't have many bags like this. They're great for socks, and I really like the print because it's my husband's favorite painting, which is Starry Night, but it's also Harry Potter. So I don't know if you can tell, but there's Hogwarts right there, and then there's like, there's Voldemort, and I think that's Harry right there. So I think this is super cool to me, and I just had to have it. I have to say, and I want to put this out there. I am not putting down any maker. That's not what I'm trying to do. However, I do want to give my honest opinion because I feel like especially when you charge so much for your product, I feel like it's really important as a consumer to know what you're going to be getting. I have really had my eye on her bags for years, but she charges, I think, like $30 or $32 for one of these sock bags. And so I really was hesitant to buy one. And then when I got it, I was a little disappointed, mainly because I thought that the way the interfacing was going to make it so that it was like stand up on its own. But it's really like squishy and flexible, which is fine. I just prefer a firmer bag. It's a personal preference. Some people prefer the squishier bags. And also the lining isn't really attached to the outside fabric, and the outside fabric isn't interfaced, but the lining is. And I think if I were going to make a bag like this, I would probably interface the fabric instead of the lining. Because what happens is this fabric is really kind of like slipping around, like it's not staying straight, so it's kind of bothering me because I keep having to put my hand in there and adjust the corners, because otherwise, like this happens. Like, I don't know if you can tell, it's probably not showing right on there, but it just kind of, the fabric, like it's not the inside that's squishing out, it's the outside fabric is kind of like slipping around, so it's not holding its shape really, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So it kind of annoys me. I think if I had a project in there, it wouldn't be so bad because look, it stays up and it's nice and square. And also I think the top is wider than the bottom gusset, which I don't think it's absolutely square, which is fine. That's not a big deal. I guess I was just expecting a little more because of how much I paid for it. But I have to say, I'm not disappointed. Like, I'm not sad that I got the bag because I still really, really like it. But I think I like the fabric more than I like the construction, if that makes sense. But anyway, yeah. So again, not trying to be a negative Nancy, not trying to put anybody down. I think it is a really nice bag. There's a few things that I would have done differently if I were making it and charging that much for it. But anyway, I still really like the fabric. I really love the fabric. Okay. I got a few other things. Shelly Can sells enamel pins, and she was raising money with her skull pins, and so I've been wanting to purchase from her for a while, so it just gave me a good excuse to actually purchase. So I got one of each because I couldn't decide which one I like better. And then I also got this, which I've been eyeing for a long time, but I couldn't justify spending the money for the shipping for one pin. So it says The Wand Chooses the Wizard, and it's a knitting needle. And then I also ordered one of her Tuft Woolens. It's exclusively for Shelly Can lip balm, and it's the Butterbeer lip balm, which it actually doesn't remind me of Butterbeer. It reminds me of maple syrup. Untracked when I used it yesterday. My husband's like, did you eat pancakes today? Which is kind of funny. Pancakes sounds good. Maybe we'll go to Bob Evans and have breakfast for dinner tonight. But it's made, I thought it was funny, the last, Made with Love in Ohio by TuffWoolens.com, which I love because Tuff Woolens in Ohio, but the last ingredient on it is Ohio honey, which is kind of cool because I live in Ohio. So cool. Anyway, so I got those. Another acquisition that I purchased off of Amazon are some locking pin backs, because my pins are falling off my fringe bags like crazy. And I haven't tried these yet, but supposedly these will lock the pin backs in place to where you can't get them out unless you pull this little, there's like a little pull out tab on the back of them so they won't fall off. So I plan on changing over all my pins to those. So if you're having the same problem as me, I would recommend trying some of these, or I'll let you know if I like these and then you can get some. Also, you guys saw last week my finger was dyed. Well, it started to come off, but then I dyed again on Thursday, and so like I've scrubbed and scrubbed and scrubbed and I can't get it off. I need to remember to wear gloves. Also, I wanted to say that I got a card yesterday in the mail. I was having a really rough day at work. It wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad day, but there was a lot going on yesterday, and I was just tired and exhausted, and I was emotionally drained, and was just having a rough day. It was a rough Monday, and I received the cutest card from Tristan and Christy from the Girls in the Yarn Cafe podcast. They had purchased my donation yarn, and I didn't realize when I sent it out that Tristan had purchased 2 skeins, one for her and one for her mom, but I thought it was both for her, so I only sent 1 notions pod and 1 coupon code and 1 stitch marker. So she messaged me and told me it was one for her, one for her mom. I was like, oh. So I sent them out a package with those for her mom, for Christy. But then I also included a giveaway prize for their podcast. And they sent me a lovely handwritten note, and it was so nice to receive it, and it was totally unexpected. And you really don't receive a whole lot of handwritten notes these days. So I was like, where did this come from? And then I was like, oh. So it was really great, and it really made my day. So I just thought I would share that with you guys. And they asked if I was going to Stitches, which I'm probably not going to Stitches, but then they asked if I was going to Rhinebeck, and I'm definitely going to Rhinebeck. So hopefully I get to meet them when I go to Rhinebeck, because that would be really cool and exciting. I love meeting up with people. The next purchase was bad, but there's no really justification for it other than I've wanted it for a while. And I've actually, so on the yarn crawl, it's been almost 3 years ago, I purchased a interchangeable set of signature needles. Not set, but I purchased the size 6, I think. Yeah. I purchased the size 6 interchangeable needles from Signature Needle Arts, and I used it to knit a shawl, and I really loved it, but I didn't think anything of it. And then I did. I purchased and then I also purchased a straight needle set after I used the interchangeable set, and I really liked them. I purchased a pair of their straight needles for my Cozy Memories blanket, and I absolutely love them. That's the only set that I use for that blanket. And I've been wanting to get the full interchangeable set, but as you know, they're quite pricey. So I haven't been doing it, and I hadn't got it. And then I finally just broke down and saved up the money and purchased it. Which I feel a bit guilty about, right? Because like it's definitely pretty indulgent of a purchase, especially for yourself. Typically this kind of stuff I ask for as a gift, and my husband and my in-laws and my dad, literally all 3 will go in together to buy it for me. So it was very indulgent, but I got them, and I haven't used them yet, but I know I'll love them because I love my one set that I bought. So, and I actually have, I'll have 2 pairs of 6s. I did get the 32-inch set because that's what I use most for shawls and sweaters. And I think my other size 6 is a 32-inch too. It might be a 40, but I think it's a 32. Maybe it's a 24. It might be a 24. So the one thing about signatures that's really annoying, and I understand why they do it, and I'll explain it in a second, but if you don't know, you can't, they're interchangeable, But you can't, if I bought the 32-inch set, I can't put 40-inch cables on here, and I can't put 24-inch cables or 16-inch cables. I'd have to get a new needle tip for each size cable, which seems really ridiculous until you hear why. The join on these, a lot of times with interchangeables, you'll get stuck on the join, and because of the way that they do theirs, there is no there is no seam. There's absolutely no seam, because they're making sure that each cable tip matches up exactly to each needle tip. And they can only do that if you're getting a different cable for each needle, if that makes sense. It's a little ridiculous. It is, but I'm happy with it. And when I finish my Comfort Fade Cardi, the next sweater I'm casting on is going to be a Flax Light by Tin Can Knits, and I'm going to be using, you can't see it, but I'm going to be using yarn from Tara of Mitchell's Creations, and I'm going to use this set to cast it on with. I am currently using my Diet Craft needles, which I call my Ferraris. So if we're going in car terms, I would say that these are probably like the Cadillacs of knitting needles, and the Diet Crafts are like the Ferrari of knitting needles. So don't ask why I need both a Cadillac and a Ferrari, but I do apparently. And actually maybe these are like the Tesla, and like those are the Ferraris, because I think these would be a little higher than a Cadillac. And why am I putting so much thought into this? I don't know, I'm so ridiculous. But I would say that ChiaoGoos are like the Hondas of knitting needles, right? Because they're good price, they last a long time, and they're actually really great quality for what you're buying. Am I thinking Honda? No, not Honda, Toyotas. They're the Toyota of knitting needles, like the Toyota Prius. They get great grass mileage, they're good price, and they last for a while. So that's how I would say ChiaoGoos are. So crazy. And the only reason I compare my needle sets to cars is that's how I justify it to my husband on why I need so many different needle sets. Not that somebody needs a bunch of different cars, it's just explaining the difference. So crazy and so ridiculous, but whatever. So I hit up some D-stashes on Etsy and Ravelry, and I only have one from Ravelry that responded to me, which is probably a good thing. But I purchased the Frosted Peeps colorway from Desert Vista Dye Works. I purchased some straight from Desert Vista Dye Works, but I was looking for some of her older colorways on Ravelry. Maybe that's what I need to do, is I need to hold it up higher so it's not washed out. So I purchased Frosted Peeps from a D-stash. And I also have a whole box of yarn from an Etsy D-stash, which I'll show in a few minutes. But I also bought some more mustache yarns, because she had some of her colors from DFW Fiberfest. I think that's what it's called. And this is the time of year I always purchase from her, because she always has a lot of her colorways in stock, because she comes back from the festival and she puts them all up in her shop. So I got a few that I don't have, and I also got her DFW colorway. So this is Sesame, which I did not have. So, and it's always hard to see how these look unless you knit them up. And I realize now that I've been purchasing from Mustache Yarns for about 2 years now, and I've been podcasting for about a year now. And I purchased quite a bit of her yarn this past year and haven't knit with any of it to show on the podcast. So I'm going to have to fix that soon, which I do have a sock arm sweater planned out of her yarn. So maybe that'll be my next sweater cast on after my flax. But this one is her Woodstock colorway. These are all on the same base. They're 460 yards per 100 grams, 75/25 superwash merino nylon. And then, and I hadn't even opened these yet. And then this one is her, normally she puts a little thing on here saying it is. I don't see it. I'm pretty sure this was her 2018 DFW colorway. But normally it has like a little thing on the tag that says that, and this one doesn't. But this is called Rainbow Yo-Yo. You guys know how I am with rainbows, and I've been kind of obsessed lately, so I got that one too. Also, and this is nothing against Lolo Did It, but it was really stupid on my part. So I've been getting, I've been watching Lolo Did It's live videos, and she keeps talking about and I'm going to mess it up now too, because I keep getting them confused. She keeps talking about the honeycomb cardigan, something. She's having a knit along with something called the honey something or honeycomb something cardigan. And she kept talking about her DK weight, her whole lot of DK base. And it really made me want, and I looked at the pattern. Well, at first I was confused because I thought she was talking about the new one from Andrea Mowry, which is called Wool and Honey Pullover, which I want to make that too, like crazy. Crazy bad. But I thought that's what Lola was talking about. So in her live videos, I kept saying, isn't that fingering weight? Like, you're telling people to buy DK weight for that pattern, but I looked it up and it's fingering, so I'm really confused. And she never responded to me. So she probably thought I was some weirdo, crazy person who didn't know anything about knitting. So finally, I figured out that she was talking about a totally different cardigan, and I looked that one up, and I love it even more than the Wool and Honey, which I really love the Wool and Honey. So I was like, okay, this gives, like, I want to buy some of her whole lot of DK so I can make that cardigan. So I originally went on there with the plan to purchase a honey colored, I think it's called Fame or something like that. She has a really pretty, like, brownsy bronze. And I was looking at people's swatches and how it knit up, and I was like, this is not a color I would wear. As much as I love it and I think it fits the pattern really well, it's not something I would wear. So I started looking at all her crazy variegated ones, because you can get those made into the whole lot of DK skeins. And I was like, no, it's too crazy. It might do some weird flashing stuff, and I really want this to be a nice cardigan that I could wear to dress up in, so I don't want like a bunch of crazy colors. Like, I love my So Faded sweater, which I made with Lolo Did It yarn, but I can't, it's not dressy, it's not, I would say it's business casual, not business formal, and so there's only certain times when I can actually wear it to work because of the crazy colors. So I was like, no, not doing that. Let's go with the solid. I was looking at her red one, and I really liked it, but like everybody was knitting with the red, and it's like a red jewel tone, and I was like, you know what? I probably wouldn't wear this either. And I was like, what color would I wear that would look good in this pattern? I was like, gray. So what did I do? I bought a ton, 3 skeins of her whole lot of DK and her Coal Miner's Daughter colorway, which I love. I used it in my So Faded sweater. The problem is that gray tonals are one of the easiest things to dye. I dye yarn, so I probably spent, and it's cheaper obviously for me to dye yarn for myself than to buy it from another indie dyer, even though I love supporting other indie dyers and I do it whenever I can. But it was kind of a stupid decision on my part, because had I saved the money and dyed this myself for that cardigan on my DK base, I could have bought fingering weight from her to make the Wool and Honey sweater for the same price I paid for just this. So I'm not sad that I purchased this, because it's going to make a lovely cardigan. I just feel a little stupid because I could have gone further with my money if I would have really thought about it. But if this tells you anything about my impulsive buying issues that I have, my impulsive spending issues, like, this is part of it. I've done really good to put it under control and do better with it, but there's still times where I'm having a really rough day emotionally, and I do stuff like this because I don't think it through, and I just do it without, I'm just like, who cares, just do it, and I get it, and I'm done. So this is part of that. But, so, it's a little silly of me, but it is what it is, and I can't take it back now, and it's a beautiful color, so just gonna deal with it. And I think, I mean, hers is a different base than mine too, so it'll be interesting to compare this DK base to my Comfort Fade Cardi. And by the way, in case you can't tell, I'm all over the DK projects right now because they knit up so quick. But this is 250 grams, 725 yards of DK weight 3-ply, and it is 85% Polworth and 15% silk. So mine is 100% superwash merino. So this, as soft as my Comfort Fade Cardi is, this should be a bit softer. So pretty interesting. All right, so there's that. And all I have left, I say all, but I have two big, 27 minutes into acquisitions, I have two big boxes of stuff to show you. So I'm gonna do knit picks first because, in case you didn't know, in case you haven't been watching me for a while, you know I'm a little obsessed with Knit Picks Felici, and every time for like the past 3 years, every time they come out with a new collection, I try to go in and I try to pick my favorites, but then I end up just getting them all because they're pretty affordable. And actually though, I have noticed, like before I could get 2 skeins of every color they came out with and I would pay like 50 bucks and get free shipping. This time it was a bit more expensive than that, and I'm thinking it's because they had more colors and they upped their price. So I think they upped their price by about $1 per skein, which I buy 2 per, because I need 2 for a pair of socks. So so that's $2 extra per colorway, and I think they had double the amount of colorways they normally have. So at some point in my life, I'm going to have to stop doing this and paying, and I'll be honest, I purchased all of them, and I purchased 2 every color, and I paid $150. I paid $141.68 after tax, and I didn't pay for shipping. Shipping's free. But with seeing that price tag and knowing that I paid between $50 and $60 before with free shipping to get all the colors has made me very hesitant to do this in the future. We'll see when the time comes, not making any promises, but I have so much Felici yarn that it takes up almost 2 full shelves. So with this, it'll take up 2 full shelves of cubes, and that's like double or triple stacked to where like they're lined up like 3. So definitely don't need any more. So, and some of their colorways are starting to look very similar to each other too. So that's another thing that I'm going to have to start watching out for. Maybe I'll just start buying the ones I really, really love. Because honestly, just looking in this box, I don't think there's really anything in here that is so much different from what they used to have that I would have had to have it if I was just picking my favorites. But they did come out with a lot more gender neutral colors, meaning like they can be knit for men or women. And so that is helpful for me because Felici is my go-to sock yarn for gift knitting if I've never knit or gifted a pair of socks to somebody before, because that is how you know, first of all, it's a cheaper yarn, and that is how you know whether or not they're going to be able to take care of their socks. So if they don't take care of them, then, you know, it's 10, well now 12 bucks lost, whatever, it's fine. But if they do take care of them, not only do you know that they'll take care of a better skein of yarn, but also Felici, it's the same percentage of nylon as most sock yarns. It's 25% nylon, but for some reason there's extra stretch in it to where it's very, like if you don't know what size somebody wears in shoes, It's very forgiving. It'll really stretch out so that it'll fit them correctly, even if you knit the wrong size. I would say within, you know, obviously an inch or two, but it's very, very forgiving. So it's a good one to start out with if you're not sure what size they are. So if you think they're like an 8.5 and they're actually like a 9.5, it would fit them even if you knit for an 8.5 or vice versa. So anyway, so this is the first colorway they came out with, and this is called Golden Hour. And my sun came out, so I might be able to turn this off without shadows. Let's see. Nope, still got shadows. It's worth a shot. So this is Golden Hour. Is that annoying for you guys that it's washed out like that? Because it's annoying for me. I don't know which is worse, shadows and bad lighting or being super washed out. This is called Mountain Mist. This is called River Rock. I really like that one. This is called Seafaring. I think Jason will like those. This one is Stormy Sky. This will be perfect for my dad. This one is Acrobat. This one looks exactly like these all look like different variations of stuff they've had before, so that is very disappointing to me. This is called Dance Party. This is Blue Lagoon. Electric Lime. And Sour Candy. Just looks like Balloon Ride, which they've had before. And then this one is called Ice Cream Truck, which looks like Cheshire Cat. It just has lighter pink, lighter purple in it. So pretty disappointed, Felici Knitpicks. Not impressed because pretty much all of these I could go on my shelf over there. Yeah, it's a little ridiculous. I'm just looking over there, and pretty much every single one of these matches up to one I already have. It's just like a shade or two lighter or darker for one or two of the colors. So that's pretty disappointing. I thought that was going to be the case when I looked at the pictures, but with Felici, you can never tell until you get it, because there's stuff that I either like more on the website or less on the website compared to when I get it. So I was afraid that was going to be the case, and between the price change and the fact that they're not being very creative anymore, I think that might be my turning point. We'll see what happens, because they normally come out with one in October, a new line in October. But they're a little bit late this year because they just came out with this last week and it's the end of June. Normally they come out with it early spring. So I don't know that they're going to be coming out with these in October or not. I know there's been some rumors that they're going to have a holiday line for like Halloween and Christmas. They've had Halloween yarn before that sold really well. I don't have that because that was before my Felici gathering time. But we'll see. So there is going to be some crinkling coming up, FYI. If you guys haven't already seen, there is a lady that goes by the name of Apron Addict on Instagram, and she's destashing so much yarn in bags for ridiculous prices, like $30 skeins of yarn marked down to like $19. And what happens is she does like one big update every week or every 2 weeks, I think. And then for every day it doesn't sell, she marks everything down by like $1 or $1.50. And this was like the second to last day before she sold out. And I went crazy. But if I were to buy all this yarn full price, I think I would have paid upwards of $1,000. So who really got the better deal here? Like, who really went too crazy, right? This is ridiculous, guys. Okay. So I'm just gonna, there's all different brands, all different colors, so I'm just gonna pick a bag and go through it. I purchased 16 skeins from her, so we're gonna be here a minute. A lot of these dyers I've never worked with before, and I've never had their yarn before, so I'm really excited to try them out. So the first one is Jinx Yarn, and it's a sparkly, try to soften that up a bit without getting rid of our lighting. There we go, that's better. It's very, very sparkly. And this is Glitz Sock Self-Striping, colorways Winter Wonderland, 75% Superwash Merino, 20% nylon, 5% Selena, 438 yards per 100 grams, and the stripe pattern is 7 rose blue, 7 rose silver. And it matches my Comfort Fave cardi. I'm gonna have matching socks. Okay. So then I have O-Loops, which I probably gonna put this in the giveaway pile. I'm not a big fan of the feel of this base. That would be why. Okay, yeah, this is probably gonna go into the giveaway pile. Not that I don't like the color, it's just not my favorite base. But the color is gorgeous, and I like O-Loops yarn, so this is why I purchased it. And it's kind of coming unskeined, so I will have to fix that. But for now, I'll just show it to you. This is really pretty, and this is called Kingsley Shackle Bolts, and it's twist knot. It's sport weight, 100% superwash merino, 328 yards per 100 grams. And I love the color, but I'm not a fan of the base, so we'll probably put this in the giveaway pile, which was the point of buying the 16. It wasn't all for me. Some of it was to give away too, so just throwing that out there. This is House of a la Mode, which I've also had some of her yarn before. This is vintage vinyl, and it's swirly fingering, which is my favorite base. It's a 2-ply, 80%, 20% merino and nylon superwash, 400 yards per 100 grams. So this is the same base that I used for my Queen Bee base. So I like that. And this is Republic of Wool, which I'm really excited about because I wanted Republic of Wool, but I've never caught a color that I liked in one of her updates. I really like this. So this is called Crack of Dawn, twist fingering, 80-20, 400 yards per 100 grams. So again, it's my Queen Bee base basically. It's really pretty. Another Bits and Hobbs Yarns and Fibers. I've never seen this before or heard of this company. And it's superwash merino nylon, 100% per 400 meters, 100 grams per 400 meters, 427 yards, sock 4-ply Barbie girl. And as pretty as this is, it's not my base. I would never, and it's not that I wouldn't mind knitting with this. It's that out of all the yarns I have in my stash as far as colors and bases go, I would never pick this out because of the base, not because of the color. So this again will be in the giveaway pile. And the next one is Fiber Knit Dye Works. I've had her yarn before, and I really enjoy it. And this is called Cloudy with a Chance of Cherry Blossoms. And see, guys, this is originally $24, and I think I paid like $17 for it. It's crazy. So 80-20, and this is her Traveler base. It's really pretty. Move that over there. Time for a new bag of yarn. Okay. This is Garn Stories Fibers for Crafters. Not a big fan of the colorway, but I think I bought it because of the name, maybe? Maybe not. I don't know why about this. Maybe it's because it was Garn Story and I wanted to try Garn Story. Maybe it's not a bad colorway. It's just not, I don't know. I'm not a fan. So, merino socks, 75% new wool merino, 25% polyamide, 425 meters per 100 grams, and it's called Rheingold. Actually, I really do like the color. You know who this reminds me of? I'm going to have to think on this one. This one might be a gift. I'm going to set it off to the side for now. Oh, pineapple yarn. I've been wanting to try pineapple nut yarn because everybody raves about it. And this, look how pretty. Look how pretty that is. Oh, this reminds me of somebody too. This might have to be a gift too. Okay, so this is $75.25. Toucan to me. It's pretty. That's all that matters, right? And then this one is called Kindred Red, Rad Sock, Boom King. Oh, that's really pretty. Guys, I wish that I was a fan of $75.25. I get spoiled with the, I don't like the 4-plies as much. Although I'm definitely keeping this one because look how pretty. Like, I love that. I love that. And then I got Homespun House, tweed fingering. I've never had her tweed yarn. That's why I purchased this. There's a lot of hair in this. And this is called her Leche. That's a sock kit. It's really pretty. I like it. And this is Pandia's Jewels. Snug Base American Graffiti colorway, $75.25. I'm kind of sad because I don't think either she didn't have the base information or I didn't read it. Most of these are $75.25. Which, like I said, I'm sad because I love the colorways, but I know when it comes time to pick yarn for a project, I'm less likely to pick this one at $75.25 base than I am a Sparkle or an 80/20. So that's why I'm sad, because I don't know that this will ever get knit. Another pineapple yarn, and this is Akala, and $75.25. It's really pretty. I see a lot of Christmas gifts in my future out of this package because I keep seeing things and it's reminding me of all my yarny friends. This is also pineapple yarn. Graffiti is art. Ooh, yeah, that's so pretty. Oh, that's going to make an awesome pair of socks. See, when I was talking about last week how I purchased the teeny button colorway, and this is more, I think, what I was expecting. Even though the colorway was great, like, it was represented greatly in her photos. It's just in my head, it had more speckles when I got it, I was like, oh, I thought this had more speckles, but I looked at the picture and it totally didn't. So it was just in my head. This is what I was picturing. So I'm glad I got this. And then Knitting in Color, 1992 hardcore sock. I was 2 years old in 1992, in case you guys wanted to know. I think that's self-striping. I don't know. I think it is. And this is Lanai Yarns, and I've heard about this before. Rocker Princess. And it actually comes with a really cute stitch marker too. But I love... Can you guys tell what my color palette is with these crazy bright pinks? Yeah. Really pretty. And last but not least, Hello Kitten, Lammy Toes. This is called Party Pony, and it looks like it was dyed in May of 2016. So this one is 2 years old. But this is another really pretty. Okay, and that's it. So, I was right. That was an hour and 45 minutes of podcasting with 45 minutes of acquisitions. So, told you I've been bad. So I need to clean up because my loft is a mess. I need to go get my husband, who's down in the basement, and figure out what we're doing for dinner. And then after dinner, hopefully I can start editing the podcast and working on my comfort fake cardi. I don't really have any more chit chat for today. I think I pretty much talked about everything throughout the podcast. I did some dyeing last week. I did a lot of knitting. Did some organization, like as far as I've started to get the house organized. So now I'm trying, there's something I can talk about. Trying to get the house organized, so now I'm trying to get my mind organized as well. But I did do some stuff on Friday that was a good surprise for Jason. And I was kind of nervous because Jason is not a fan of surprises and he doesn't take to change very well. So I was doing two major things to the house that I know that under normal circumstances, if he was involved in it, he would love, but because it was a surprise and because he wasn't involved in it, I didn't know if he was going to like it or be mad. So what happened was our garage door has been broke for over a year. Not the garage door itself, but the garage door opener. So either we park outside or we manually open the garage door. And we had opened it up last year and we saw that there was a gear broke within the unit. And so the chain was slipping and it wasn't picking up the garage door. And so we were just going to contact the manufacturer to try to get that gear and fix it ourselves. But then it became winter time and it was cold, and so like we never did anything in the winter time. Then we started painting and renovating and we didn't do anything then. So it just kept being put on the back burner. So finally I called out a repair guy while he was at work this week, and the idea was to fix the unit we have, but the guy came out and was like, this is literally one of the crappiest units you can get, and it's because the builder has a contract with the garage door seller, so they get like a discount and some sort of kickback for installing those on these houses. But they're very bottom of the line, cheap as you can get units, and they break often and they're expensive to try to fix. So it normally costs more to fix it than it does to just replace the unit. So he quoted me a price for one of the new top-of-the-line openers, which we didn't have to go that high, but it was actually only a couple bucks more than the midline opener that had a good warranty on it. They both had good warranties on it. So I was like, okay. I was like, how long does it take to replace it? Can you do it today? And he's like, yeah, I'll have it replaced in 45 minutes. And I was like, just do it. So I paid for it without talking to him. Which, I mean, it's a big chunk of money, but I actually didn't pay for it out of a regular account. I paid for it out of my shop account, so I was able to use some of the money that I've been setting aside for myself, because I've talked about this before. I have profits set aside to go back into the shop. I have profits set aside for giveaways, and I have profits set aside for like yarning festivals and trips like Rhinebeck and things like that. But I also have a small bit set aside for me to purchase acquisitions for myself or things like that. So give back to myself a little bit for all the work that I put into the shop. And it's like I don't keep a huge percentage. It's actually rather small, but I've been saving it for a while. So I just decided to do it. Using that money, and it was a good feeling to be able to do that. Yeah, so I'm excited, and he was happy. He was happy about it. It was a good surprise. In addition to that, I purchased, he has concerns. A couple years ago, our air conditioner went out when we weren't home, and luckily we were only gone for like an hour or two, but it got really hot that day, and so he always has concerns about our air conditioning or our furnace having some sort of problem with it when we're not home, and something happening to the animals, because we have 2 cats and a dog. And so it's something he's constantly worrying about when it gets really hot or really cold out. And so I have been wanting one for a while, but I really didn't see the need for one until recently, when he was expressing these concerns to me and kind of freaking out a little bit over it. And so I received an email from DP&L, which is our electric provider, saying that they would provide us a discount on a electric thermostat, or a smart thermostat for our house. And they had a couple different options, but I also get rewards points through my job when I do a good job. So if somebody recognizes me for doing a good job, they can send me, they have like so many points they have every month that they can delve out to people to show their appreciation. And so I had some points saved up from where I had received some of those, and I was able to use those points to purchase a smart thermostat for our house and a couple extra sensors to put throughout the house. So I purchased it and I installed it on my own. I was so proud of myself because I've always known I've been pretty handy because I used to like to put things together like bookshelves and desks and things like that. But when it came to like installing something, I didn't know how good, like I didn't realize how simple it is, or how much I enjoyed it. So I was able to uninstall our old thermostat and reinstall a new thermostat all by myself with wiring and everything. So I was super proud of myself and I felt super independent, and it gave me a little bit of a confidence boost that shows that, you know, I can do things around the house and I can do things for myself, and I actually enjoy doing them. So, you know, when you get married at 18, you depend a lot on your partner, because you're going through growing up together. So you learn to depend on each other. So it was good feeling to do something for myself, not for myself, but for us, that I could do by myself. And I didn't need to rely on Jason to do it. So it was a good feeling. So I did that and got that done. So he also really was happy with that because it is definitely something that he worries about. So he likes it, but I also picked the, and it was a coincidence that it happened to be called the Ecobee 4. But not really, because I will be the first to admit that the fact that it was called the Ecobee was kind of a selling point for me, because I'm like, oh, I can turn my whole house into honeybee related or bee related things. So anyway, I bought the Ecobee 4, and it is an Amazon device, and so it has Alexa, which we've never had Alexa before. My husband is a little creeped out by Alexa, to be honest, because for the most part it's kind of cool because you can be like, hey Alexa, tell me the weather, or tell me the traffic, or turn my air down to 70, or what's the temperature in the bedroom, because we have different sensors over the house, so we can just average the temperature throughout the house to get a consistent temperature across all the floor levels. But it's funny because there's sometimes when she thinks, and I call her she, but there's sometimes when she thinks that you're saying her name and you're not. So for example, we were watching TV last night and somebody kept saying a name on the TV, and she kept saying, go ahead, I'm listening, because she thought that they were saying Alexa and they weren't. So it was a little creepy that she was listening to, like, or like we'll be in conversation and we won't even say Alexa, we'll say something that sounds similar, and she'll be like, I'm sorry, what did you say? I'm like, why are you listening to everything I say? So it's a little weird, but I like it a lot. And I also found out that it can play music, so I can just tell it to play whatever, and it'll play that through the house, so that, or not through the house, but it'll play it through the thermostat, which is kind of cool for when I'm dyeing yarn and stuff. We have whole house audio, but I have to go down to the basement and turn on Jason's computer to activate it. So it's much easier to just say, hey Alexa, start playing this playlist, and she'll just start playing it. So I really enjoy it. It's not the best sound quality, but it's enough for what I need. So maybe the thermostat was a little more for me than him, but I mean, he still likes it, and it was fun to install. So yeah. Okay, so I will stop chit-chatting. This coming weekend, plans for this week. So it is Tuesday. Tomorrow I go into the office and I have therapy after work. And after that, I think tomorrow is going to be a relaxing evening. If I haven't finished editing and uploading, I'll do that tomorrow. And mostly just work on my Comfort Fade Cardi. I don't have any plans for tomorrow. I was going to be dyeing tonight and tomorrow night, but I haven't received my dye, and they're not going to be here till Thursday night. So Thursday after work, I'll obviously be dyeing, which means I'll also be dyeing on Friday to make sure that I'm ready for the Tits Out Collective release on July 1st. And so Thursday I'll work on my my shawl, my Whip It Thursday shawl. And Friday I will cast on a new hat and hopefully finish it. Saturday is my niece's birthday party. She turned 14 yesterday, so we're going to her birthday on Saturday. And Sunday, I don't really have any plans yet, so we'll see what happens on Sunday. It's been nice because last weekend we weren't that busy, and this coming weekend we have a few things going on, but not too much. And it's been a nice change because for the past several months we've been booked week after week, and it's been a little overwhelming. So I'm glad to have a few weekends where we're not completely jam-packed. So the plan is just to finish my Comfort Fade Cardi. I really would like to finish it by Friday. That would be fantastic. And if I do, I will more than likely, you know what, no, so earlier I said that my next cast on Friday after the hat is a scarf. It's actually not. It's my Desert Vista Dye Works socks, and then the week after that it's the scarf. If I finish my cardigan, there's a good chance I might cast on another sweater before I see you guys next. So fingers crossed, because then I'll have lots of stuff to show you guys. Anyway, I look forward to talking with you guys. If you have any questions or comments, put them below. If you like this episode, please like it. If you haven't subscribed yet, or if you have not yet subscribed, please do so. I really hope that you enjoy the content of this podcast, and if you have any suggestions for me, I'm always open to listening to them as long as they're constructive. So feel free to reach out. Ravelry is probably the best method to get a hold of me if you don't want your message to get lost, but I also do respond to Instagram DMs. But typically those are just like, you know, side conversations. If it's anything business related or podcasting related, please use Revelry, because it's easier to respond that way. I think that's it. I keep delaying this. We're up to 2 hours, so I need to go. You guys are probably, I mean, this is like 4 hours of Melissa time in 2 weeks, and you guys are probably over it, so I need to let you guys go, even though I'm enjoying it so much and I don't want to. But anyway, I hope you guys have a great, fantastic week and get lots of knitting in, and I will see you soon. Bye.